Hello everybody, I'm Krasiattasio, I'm sidereal astrologer, and today I will talk about the nebulas in the sky, how they influence us, how to find them in the horoscope, how they are influencing our destinies, our health in the horoscopes. I will use the approach of the ancient Babylonian astronomers because you see in the Babylonian astrology, the approach of the astronomers, astrologers was very astronomical. So they will look literally at the sky, at the exact degrees and projections of stars and also nebulas. There is contemporary um, description of the nebulas from the contemporary scientists, but I will look the ancient concept of nebula, which is basically clouds or cloudy clusters of stars which have very, very low magnitude. And these stars are influencing us in a very particular way. Now, if you look at the sky, imagine, I'll give you an example with Venus. The magnitude of Venus is really such that Venus is the brightest queen of heaven, and we see Venus as a morning star easily on the sky just before the sun rises, and we see Venus as an evening star after the sun sets, also so brightly and so beautifully. And this is because the magnitude of Venus is approximately -4 and can go up to -4,5. The lower the figure of the magnitude, the higher the brightness. The very dim stars have a magnitude of approximately +6. The nebulas are such objects that they are clouds, clusters of stars which are so not visible with naked eye and so not shiny that their magnitude can go up to 7 and 8 with a plus. So this would mean that they're really not visible. With this, it doesn't mean that they do not influence us. I can tell you that they influence us significantly. And when I give you examples, when I give you the degrees of the most important nebulas, you will think of cases and you will say, yes, now I know the reason behind this and that disease, or I know the reason behind this and this condition or emotional situation or any other. Basically, you can imagine that the nebula cannot be only one star. So they are on the sky like a cluster of very, let's say, invisible stars. If you take the example of the nebula, which is in Cancer, the constellation, which is taking place exactly on the stomach or on the belly of the Cancer, it's called Presepe. The case with this nebula is that once those were very shiny stars, which are not shiny anymore, which are burned out. I'm just giving you very description so that you really understand the meaning of the nebulas. So before I get into degrees and examples, what the nebulas mean, first of all, when I list for you the most important, or the most used from the ancient world nebulas, I will then give, of course, examples. But in order to judge on the influence of certain nebula, and there you need to seek exact degree conjunction with line of the ascendant, descendant, Imum Celi, mid-heaven, conjunction with the sun and the moon, conjunctions with planets will also play important role. So before I go into these details, let me tell you how to judge on the influences of the nebulas. Now, of course, depending on the place, astronomical, sidereal place of the nebula, and this will not work with the Western astrology, no way to work. So based on the astronomical placement of the nebula, in which zodiacal constellation it is, you can judge on the nature of the nebula. But take the nebula as a darkness. It is also the translation is, I think one of the meanings was darkness. Darkness. When one would have, even if the nebula is in Sagittarius, and you do have in the 18th degree of the Sagittarius nebula, but even if the nebula is in Sagittarius, which is a wonderful, beautiful, spiritual, philosophical sign ruled by Jupiter, so even if the nebula is there, still, since this is darkness, if one would have moon or sun in the nebula, the person will suffer different eye diseases. There is research done by ancient astrologers who claim that the nebulas in some very well-known cases caused blindness. I witnessed some cases, not of blindness, but people who have problems with their eyesight. And these are many cases that I've seen. Blindness, I haven't detected yet, but problems with the eyesight, if moon or sun are in the exact degree of the nebula, is a very, very common thing which always exists. It is a darkness, meaning darkness. So you are seeking for exact degree of the line of and the axis of ascendant, descendant, midheaven, imum celi. And it is a darkness also of the soul. So not only that this will bring health issues, but the nebulas can also be reason for darkness of the soul, emotional darkness. Someone can be prone to melancholy, conditions like depression or others, and all this will be caused by nebulas, especially the ones that have not very bright meaning. And I will give you example which are the very, very dark and very, very devastating nebulas, which can lead to really tragedies. So basically, the nebulas are also very, very spiritual places, always, without exception. Somehow, they bring depth. Maybe because, I don't know, maybe because the darkness is associated with depth as well, but in all cases, the nebulas will be associated, yes, with some lessons that we need to learn, but also with powerful intuition, spiritual awareness, or qualities like seeing spirits, many. But again, of course, depends which nebula is this and where exactly the nebula is placed in the horoscope. You also need to watch which planet is conjoined with the nebula. And when I say the exact degree, some nebulas can be like the nebula again of Sagittarius, 1 degree, but 1 degree on the sky is a very large thing. 1 degree from our point of view, from our side, is a very large place on heaven. So if, for example, the ruler of the children, Jupiter, the main, the planet which is mainly associated with many other, of course, things, but with children, often you will see issues with children in the horoscope. Now, when I'm telling you this, there is no reason to be scared, to think that this is the darkness and the darkest thing in the horoscope. Not necessarily, because yes, the nebulas will bring some lessons that we need to learn in this incarnation. Certainly, this can result in problems, but the nebulas are also very, as I told you, very spiritual place. And yes, in reality, I saw dramatic cases. And in order to be precise, in order my information for you to be reliable and valid, with the risk this to sound a bit dark. I will share with you also these cases, but there are really very dark cases associated with the nebulas. However, not always. So it's not necessarily that the nebula will bring the darkest of the darkest of the energies, but still it is good that we have knowledge to distinguish all possibilities and to know all the secrets in the horoscopes. So look in which zodiacal constellation, not the sign, is the nebula, and this will form the nature and the character of the nebula, of the darkness, of the cloud. So I will list the most important, those that I always look for in the horoscope, and I will tell you without any mistake, they manifest their energies in some way if they are exactly conjoined with sun, moon, on the line of the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, imum celi. So of course, yes, I will just give you the astronomical sidereal degrees. So you may be surprised, but the Pleiades, the 7 sisters on the sky, the 7 stars which are dim, which we see very vaguely in Taurus, the constellations, are a nebula. And they were listed as nebula from the ancient world. Even later on, Ptolemy listed them as nebula. And the Pleiades are from the 4th to the 6th degrees in Taurus. Now, this is a very complex nebula because, you may like to look at my other video, which is only about the Pleiades and the witches. These are the 7 sisters, but basically they're not only the 7 sisters, the father is there, the mother is there, according to the legend. According to the ancient Babylonian mythology, the Pleiades are actually the 7 demons, Sibitu, which were the guardians of Mars, Nergal, and they are described like a nightmare. They would give all the worst qualities possible in the horoscope. Now, with this I'm just telling you the mythology story. It doesn't mean that it is that far. But look in detail, you can see this story and description of the Pleiades Nebula in my video, which is a short one, and it's only about the Pleiades. What is this? I will give you, by the way, towards the end of my short talk, some way to deal with the nebulas in the chart, and also some remedies. There are always remedies. We are here to learn. We have our small dose of free will. So there is certainly something that we can do about nebulas in the chart. What I noticed with the Pleiades and cases, there are many cases which I observed, described by other ancient astrologers, but also my own experience, is telling me that this is a cloud, these 7 sisters can be difficult nebula. This is happening in Taurus, but the nature of this nebula is not very bright. Yes, it is near the exaltation point of the moon, but still, remember, one of the sisters of the Pleiades disappeared. So we're having disappearance here. And that is the case when I saw Jupiter conjoined in the Pleiades, and I remember that Jupiter was ruling the 5th house of the children, and I also remember that there was another negative factor to reconfirm the event, but there was a serious problem with the child, and I don't want to go into detail. It was really very sad. So Pleiades can be a nebula that is not very bright, in terms of energy, in terms of emotions. And we're going to the most, from my point of view and from the literature that I found and from my own experience, and this is the nebula Presepe. which is in the belly of the Cancer. And this is a very, very dramatic, to my knowledge, nebula, not only because, like the other nebulas, it will be associated with sight, vision issues, but because there is a version that even the great flood happened while one of the tropical points, the equinoxes, was in the Presepe. So this is a very turbulent nebula, very dark. Even if you go somewhere high in the mountains where there is no light pollution, and where you will be able to really to see the sky, and you may be able to detect this nebula. And it is sinister in a way. It is really something, there is something with the energies that will scare you a bit. So if one would have sun there, moon there, typically these people will be very gifted in terms of clairvoyance, mediumship. And I've seen such cases, amazing, amazing people, but then they may have other problems. This is darkness. It is a nebula, and this is a dark nebula in Cancer. Cancer is a small constellation, I think even the smallest, if I'm not wrong, from the zodiacal constellation, but it's a very, very, can be very, very turbulent. Of course, let me make a note here. When you're looking at the nebula and when you detect a problem, look at the other positions of the planets that would confirm or will soften the influences. Then you have in a nebula, which I saw as a soft one, like it is, because it is in the 27 degrees of Leo, it would give only side issues, but it won't be dramatic. And then there is a very serious one in the 30 degree of Scorpio, related to the sting of the scorpion, which is a biting one, I can tell you. And yes, sight issues, health issues are possible, reconfirmed by other factors in the horoscope. And again, this is a nebula that will give depth, that will give spiritual awareness and all associated with consciousness and spirituality. And then I mentioned the Sagittarius, and then you have in the 18 degree nebula. And also, even by the ancients, the Milky Way, which is approximately the 5th degrees in the Sagittarius, was considered nebula. But I will tell you, this can result in eyesight issues, vision distortion, but it will not bring tragedies, because like in Leo, the zodiacal constellation is not such. And then you have the Capricorn, the last 3 degrees, 25 to 28 degrees of Capricorn, which can be a nebula. It is a nebula, but it is very much about mediumship. I didn't notice very, very dramatic cases, but some health issues will be possible here. And the same is the only 1 degree, 17 to 18 in the Aquarius. Again, I never witnessed dramatic events in one's life. The other way around, 17 to 18 degrees of Aquarius, because it is very near the waters, can create some issues with sight, but dramatic events, I really, really doubt. I haven't witnessed, and I have seen horoscopes with sun in displacement, also planets. Luckily, this is not such a dramatic nebula. Now, you will see that Ptolemy, for example, is listing other nebulas. There are ancient texts that they list a lot. We cannot observe all of them. I am giving you the most important ones which really influence us, for sure. And it is an added value, added information. When you're looking at the chart, if you consider the nebulous, you will see so many things that you couldn't explain for yourself before. Some diseases that you didn't know where they came from, or side problems which are not detectable in the horoscope otherwise. I just had a case with someone who had serious side problems with the laser operations, and no one could say where it comes from, because there is not even one indication of in the horoscope of a side issues apart from the sun in the nebula of Sagittarius, in the 18th degree of Sagittarius. So I think I was the only one who managed to see this, because the others just didn't make use of the nebulas, of the darkness of these dust or clouds in the sky, which have such a magnitude that we cannot easily detect them, but they influence us for sure. They influence us on emotional level. They can be associated with tragic events, especially the Cancer Presepe Nebula is quite dramatic. I've seen many cases, but just yes, remedies. There are remedies, I will tell you. One very important remedy is, again, maybe often when I speak about remedies, I speak about spirituality, uplifting consciousness, uplifting our vibrational level. But yes, this is so important. But in particularly when we talk about nebulas, because they are about, their nature is about, can be about witchcraft in a bad sense, but can be in a good sense, can be, it is about, by the way, saying this, I will give you one example of a bad example, and it was about, of course, names, and I will, of course, not say, I will also not show the horoscope. I will just give very brief description of the example that I have. And it is about a woman which was doing a bad black witchcraft. And when I saw her chart, she had invisible black moon conjoined with the sun in the nebula of Cancer. So this is how she used the energies in a negative way. Of course, she had a very difficult, she's alive, she has, along with that, a very difficult destiny. Yes, this is the Cancer nebula, the sun and moon in Presepe, yes, and she was doing black witchcraft. She was talking with that. She was seeing spirits, she still is. So she was very good in this witchcraft stuff, but she opted for the black side. Now, I see these influences, these energies used in a better way, and they are in the white way, like choosing the white spirituality, choosing to use these energies, like uplifting your intuition, because you will be very much supported by the nebula. If you like to develop powerful intuition, you can decide to study lucid dreaming techniques or anything. You can do Reiki techniques which are associated with higher level of spirituality, because this is what is the nebula. Remember, the nebula, the seven sisters, the Pleiades, are witches. They would do magic. So this is how we can please them, so that they don't harm us so much. But the white choice, the white side, otherwise we are connecting with the black realm, and this is certainly going to affect us terribly, really. So another wonderful thing, I'm sure useful, and I'm sure it works, it is in the ancient texts, it is the use of the very simple mountain crystal. The most simple, the cheapest one, that when you go on any market, people would sell stones or minerals, would have this one. Like, get a chunk of this, or wear it on your neck, or in a form of a ring, or anything you like. But it is good to wear the most simple, pure white a transparent mountain white crystal. This is, I don't know exactly why, but it's very useful when one would have nebula. It's kind of helping you to channel the right energies from the nebula, the ones that are white, pure, and good, not bad. Just that simply I want to put it. And again, connect with the white side, with white spirit world, with the angels, with the ones that will help you enhance your intuition for good. If you're doing some kinds of rituals, let them be white, like supporting your planetary influences or karma, and never harm anyone, because the nebulas can put people to make wrong choices of the black witchcraft and black energy. So this is actually not an option, and this is not going to solve the problems with the nebula in the horoscope. This is not going to be helpful at all. So with this, I'm completing. I hope this was helpful. I gave you the degrees of the nebulas that are the most useful when you are analyzing the horoscopes. Of course, the nebulas in the solar system are millions, but we are taking the ones that that I saw in the literature, that I experienced myself. There are many others listed by Ptolemy in his Almagest. You may find them there as well, but I use the ones that I gave you because for me they work without any doubt and any mistake. So with this I'm completing. Thank you.